right? So I didn't want my kids anywhere near that. And again, one of the reasons why I've moved out of Hollywood is it's got so weird. It's so weird out there. Like, it's not what it was like when I first went there. It's just completely changed. Or I don't know if it's, or I don't know if it's become more obvious, like, because people become emboldened, right, in their dysfunction. So I think it's become a little bit more obvious the way that people act and behave. So I was like, I'm out. It's not for
Yeah,
me.
we had Corey Feldman on, and he told us some horror
Oh,
stories about his childhood. Yeah, heartbreaking stuff. All right, so you're out there, massive movie deals, you go into parties, you get married. That puts the brakes on somewhat. What were the first things like that kind of like made you start to turn against living in California?
well, I think that what I started seeing was people saying that they were really tolerant and they're not tolerant at all. There was no um, kind of acceptance of other people's point of views, or even engaging with them. It was just like, this is the way you are. If you think this, then you think XYZ as well, right? And we all know that people are nuanced, right? There's no people started like cramming people into groups, which I don't like. I think it's very dangerous to do that. I mean, history's shown us it's very dangerous to do that, and I didn't like it. And then there were certain things that were going on, like the lawlessness in California, that was just completely illogical, treating different people unequally, but saying that it was because of equality. And I'm like, I don't like that. That's not the way I grew up. Because I mean, if you grow up in the UK and you're poor, it doesn't matter if you're poor and black, or if you're poor and white, or if you're poor and Asian. It doesn't matter. You're poor. It's a class system, right? So what I started seeing over there was this kind of like balkanization of different people and it being manipulated, and I didn't like that. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this, because, I mean, we can go in to Starbucks and order a triple shot soy latte, whatever you want to make it, and nobody blinks an eye at the nuances in ordering, however wacky they are, in ordering a coffee. But if you say, well, you know what, I am for low taxes, or whatever it be politically, and then all of a sudden you're an evil person on the right. In the same way, like, and not to get too political, but Joe Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I'm like, well, hang on a minute. Like, what? What are you saying? And I don't know if it's because I'm a Brit over here. I don't know if you experience the same. Like, I couldn't even tell you any of my family voted for. It wasn't a real big deal, but I started seeing them pushing, and then pushing agendas into films. And I'm like, I just want to watch a good film. I don't give a damn about X, Y, or Z, right? And they started pushing that more and more and more and more. And I'm just like, that's not what I got into the industry for. You know what I mean? It never was. And so, yeah.
Who was pushing agendas into films, and what were the agendas?
Well, I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of the woke studios feeling like that is what people want, because they live in a bubble. Like, Hollywood's a very, very small bubble. So if you go out to I'll give you an example of this, right? So I got a call from my agent, and he goes, and he's laughing like this, sure, it's no joke. He goes, they're doing a new Rambo movie, and they want to know if you're interested. And I'm like, what? They're doing a new freaking Rambo movie? Or what? And they're wondering if I'm interested in being in it. Are you out of your mind? Yeah. And he couldn't believe that I wanted to do this archaic action film with this action. And I'm like, what are you talking? Of course I want to do it. And so there's a big disconnect with what people actually want to watch and what they're making, out there. And I think part of it is because, and I've said this before, I think people think that, all right, the difference between me and another one of the, the majority of actors that are absolutely giant household names is maybe fractional. And the difference between me and people working in Starbucks who haven't had a break is fractional. Right? It's just very small. You have to be able to get in there, and you have to deliver at that moment, and everything has to go right for you. And so, once you get to a certain level, you just keep making the money, you keep getting the jobs. But the truth is there's a razor thin line between whether or not you're making $100 million a year or you're making $35,000 a year at Starbucks, right? And so with that comes a lot of guilt, right? If you are the guy that gets chosen, because oftentimes you'll have multiple people. Let's say when you're doing a TV show, you're down to the last 3 people for the role, and that could be playing Matthew Perry's, which happened to a friend of mine. It was between him, Matthew Perry, and another guy for Friends, right? And Matthew Perry got it, and I mean, unfortunately, he died, right? And there's a lot of other stuff that comes with that, and it's not all what everyone makes it out to be. But he made hundreds of millions of dollars, and my buddy didn't, right? And they know that. They know that, really. So with someone like me, who I had to pay my own way through college, and I worked as a butcher, and I worked on a shoe shop, and all that. Like I worked my ass off to get where I am, right? But there's a lot of other people that haven't, and they were maybe they were compromised, maybe not, maybe they're just in the right place at the right time. But what that does, it gives them guilt. So when they have that guilt, they kind of say, well, I've got to give the disenfranchised a hand up. Right. And so I feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty at all about anything. And I think that if you work hard enough, you get it. It's the luck of the draw. That's it. I don't think anyone is any less of a talent than I am, or, certainly not because of the color of their skin or their sexuality. I don't care about that. So, but a lot of people do. So what they do is they start cramming their politics into it, and they start elevating people that maybe shouldn't be elevated. So you don't have that standard of quality that you used to have. And then, once people get into that position, they know they're imposters. So they start hiring other people that are imposters. And then you get the Marvels, right? It just turns to shit. That's the problem. So you have a bunch of woke people making woke content for themselves and not for anybody else. So, that's why, and it's been reflected in the box office. That's why the box offices are terrible right now. Nobody wants to go and see it.
So my background is in economics, and the basis of economics is there's demand and supply. So if they're just supplying something that the public doesn't demand, surely they would go broke.
Well, they are. They're getting that way. It takes some time, right? Because you got to remember, if you've got somebody like Disney, right? Disney's got a back catalogue of, I don't know, when was Steamboat Willie? 1950s, maybe before that. I'm not entirely sure actually when Snow White, which was the first animated film, came out. But they've got a catalog of movies that people keep buying. We grew up, even in England, right? You grow up with, Disney is the gold standard, right, of animation. Like, that's it. So they have all these movies, and if you want to put your kids in front of a film and you want to show them the classics, it's Pinocchio, it's Snow White, whatever it might be. So they have this big lump of a back catalogue. So that's one thing. Secondly, Shaun, as you know, as your background is in those things, is the one way you can either come up with new innovative things to move forward, which Disney had, or you purchase, right? You purchase companies to expand and grow, right? So they purchased the Marvel. They purchased the Lucasfilm, right? So they were growing, but it took them a little bit of time before they got their fingers in that pie and made that content, right? And so now they're making the content, and Dial of Destiny did nothing. I can't remember what the Marvels did. It bombed. The Wish, which was their anniversary thing they just did, I think it made $24 million over the weekend, which was just an absolute disaster. So they are going that way. And people certainly aren't going to the cinema anymore to watch them, because they're like, I don't want my kids indoctrinated. This stuff is not good. And so they are going that way. But you got to remember, the people in the positions of power, like, I don't know how much Bob Iger's worth. He's worth $350 million. Like, it's not going to ever personally affect him, right? He loses his job. So what? He can go and buy an island and go live on it. Right. And same with the directors. They get paid so much money, they don't care. So when it goes in the can, who's left holding the can for it, sorry, as it were, are the shareholders. And until the shareholders engage and say, listen, enough is enough. Nothing's going to happen. But I think they will go broke, actually. I think that Disney has a good chance of going bankrupt.
That's fascinating. So you're saying they've used the vast resources of their back catalogue to continue to finance this woke garbage in the light of there not being demand for it. But that ties into the next question, which is from Ian. Will a localized counter Hollywood movie industry emerge as a consequence of this?
Yeah, it will. But the problem is the people that are trying to build that, right? Like the people like me, like I've gone out multiple times to say about how you need to have a let me just break it down a little bit. If you want to go and break into the system, what you have to do is you have to have a portfolio. It's a portfolio approach, right? So you have, let's say, 10 movies. Say we get an investment of $10 million, you make 10 $1 million movies. And if you do that, then the chances are you're going to get one of those that's going to hit. And this is what Blumhouse does, right? So they'll go out and they'll make a bunch of movies that you don't hear, and then you'll get one Paranormal Activity and it makes $150 million and it funds it. So the other approach to that is that allows you to get into the marketplace. So it allows you to have leverage when you're talking to the cinemas. Because let's say me and you, Shaun, we're going to make a movie. We're going to make a movie about your life story. And we go up and we go, hey, Regal Cinemas, I've got this movie. And they go, okay, you've got one film. I don't care. Paramount's going to send me 3 this year or 4. And one of them's Transformers. And we don't care about your movie, right? So you have to have leverage when you're going out and you're breaking into that market, right? So there needs to be people kind of go out and they'll say, well, I'll do one movie, like I'll do like Sound of Freedom and something like that. And by the way, that was shelved for like 5 years until it was brought out. And then it was only a controversy really with them saying it was a right-wing movie, which was about trafficking, like that made it controversial and generated PR. So it became a success. But what you really need to do is build a studio. And when I say a studio, it needs to have more than one movie. So you have leverage. And the majority of investors don't want to do that. They won't put money down like that. And also, it is it's a very subjective industry, right? So it's not like oil and gas or whatever, where you can say, okay, this is how much the commodity is, this is how much I can sell it, this is my margin or whatever it might be. It's hit or miss. And the problem is a lot of people just go out and they'll say, well, you know, My Dog Skip, it made $150 million. And you're like, yeah, but that's not the norm, right? It's not the norm. So there's multiple barriers for entry. Mainly it's because people don't know what they're doing. And secondly, it's because there's a bunch of grifters out there that say they know what they're doing, they don't, and the movies fail. But there is an opportunity. It's a massive opportunity. Massive.
We've almost run out of time. 2 minutes to answer this question then from Jake. Who are the gatekeepers of the movie industry?
Well, there's multiple. It's a great question. Agents, because if I had a script and I wanted to get it to Chris Pratt, and I would have to send it to the agent, and if the agent doesn't want me to get it to Chris Pratt, they'll block it. And that means, so if you have Chris Pratt attached, he brings a monetary amount that you can go and sell the movie on. So that helps you bring revenue into the movie. So you've got agents that block it because either they don't know you, right? So I might be some charlatan and they're rightly doing their job, they're blocking it, or they might not want him to do that material, or they might want him to have another movie he's getting paid more for. That's just normal. So you got agents. You have distributors, a big problem. If you're doing a movie that they disagree with, they will block it. Or if they have someone, not that they'll block it, they just won't pick it up, right? And so that's a big issue, because if you have an actor that is really worth something and you can't get to him, then you got no way to distribute, you got no way to get the movie into that person's hands. So agents, distributors, and producers as well, like they will not take the stuff on that they don't like. So there's barriers to that. And when I say like, it doesn't even mean, because it used to be they might like, I don't really like this the subject of this film, but I know it's marketable, so I'm going to put it out. They would rather put something out there now that is woke, because they go to all the parties and everyone pats them on the back about how great they are.
Matthew,
So
you're great. You're a great speaker. Thanks for spending time with us. We'd love to get you back on. Can you please tell the viewers where they can find you and support you?
yeah, please go and look at me on YouTube. I just started a channel there. It says Matthew D Marsden, and I'm going to be tackling a whole bunch of things. And on X, I'm Matthew D Marsden as well. So thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And enjoy Texas. Cheers, my friend. Take
All
care.
right, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.